Hello, my friends. Today, the situation across the entire front line remains extremely difficult as Russian forces are advancing not only in the Pokrovsk direction but also in several other areas. They are still conducting around 200 assaults per day, which is a very high level of activity. Let's start with the situation at the border. In the Kursk region, there have been no changes over the past day. For now, there are no new successes for the Ukrainian forces, and neither side has reported any new offensive actions. Meanwhile, the Russians continue to strike the city of Sumy and nearby border settlements. In the Kharkiv direction, the situation has stabilized. Offensive actions are only being recorded near Vovchansk, but here too, the Ukrainian forces are repelling all attacks, and the front line has remained unchanged for an extended period. In the Kupiansk direction, after the capture of Sinkivka, the Russians are attempting to advance further, but they have made no new gains. Similarly, offensive actions continue near Glushkivka, but the Ukrainian forces are holding the line, and the front line remains unchanged in this sector. In the Svatove direction, battles are ongoing for Berestove, and the Russians are attempting to break through from Stelmachivka toward Lozova. As it stands, a significant portion of the Luhansk region remains under Ukrainian control. Further south, fighting continues for Druzhelyubivka, and the Russians are pushing toward Grekivka with constant assaults on Makiyivka. The situation is tough, but Ukrainian forces are successfully repelling all attacks. In the Kreminna direction, there are no significant changes. Periodic attacks on Nevsky are taking place, but the front line remains stable. In the Siversk direction, battles are ongoing for Verkhnyokamensky, Spirne, and Ivanodarivka. However, no new attacks have been reported near Zvanivka and Vyimka. The situation is dire here, as the Russians have managed to pull the front line dangerously close to Siversk, which remains their primary target in this sector on the front. In the Chasiv Yar direction, the Russians continue to push towards the outskirts of the city, attacking Klishivka and Andriivka. Along the entire front line, the number of shelling has increased. However, no changes in the front line have been reported over the past day. It has also been reported that the Ukrainian forces have begun using a new type of drone to target the Russians. As we can see, the war is constantly evolving, reaching new levels of complexity. In the Toretsk direction, the Russians have seen several days of successes. As a result, mandatory evacuations from frontline settlements have been declared. The Russians are now nearing a semi-encirclement of Toretsk, which could soon lead to further advances toward Kostiantynivka. Fighting continues for Nelipivka, which is already surrounded, and the Russians are attempting to break through to Sherbynivka. The situation here is critical, with over 15 Russian assaults reported in the past day alone. In the Pokrovsk direction, fighting continues along the entire front line, and the shelling of Mirnograd and Pokrovsk remains relentless. The Russians are still trying to cut off our forces between Karlivka and Krasnohorivka, moving toward a water barrier. Yesterday, they advanced 1 kilometer and 600 meters, but battles near Zhelany Pershi persist, and the Ukrainian forces are doing everything possible to prevent an encirclement. The fighting for Ukrainsk, Selidove, and Grodivka also continues. Near Novogorodivka, the Russians are attempting to expand their control over the field to move closer to Lysivka after previous failed attempts. Additionally, attempts to advance closer to the highway continue, but the Ukrainian forces managed to halt Russian progress. No changes have been reported in this area over the past few weeks. The Ukrainian forces also report that Russian advances have slowed slightly, and they are now focused on maximizing Russian losses. In the Kurakhove direction, due to the deteriorating situation, mandatory evacuations from many settlements have been ordered. The Russians are still attempting to fully capture Krasnohorivka. Fighting is ongoing near Georgievka and the village of Kostiantynivka, but there have been no new changes along the front line in the past day. In the Vuhledar direction, the situation is seriously deteriorating. For several days in a row, Russian forces have made successful advances. This time, they fully captured Prichetivka and managed to move between Velika Novosilka and Zolota Neva, gaining control over fields and the highway. Now the highway from Velika Novosilka towards Kurakhova is under Russian fire control, with shelling already starting in the village of Shakhtarsk. Meanwhile, assaults on Vodine and Vuhledar continue, though Russian successes remain limited, with only minor gains near the highway advancing a few hundred meters before being halted. In the Zaporizhzhia direction, Russian forces have resumed offensive actions. Assaults are reported in the areas of Robotine, Novoandriivka, and ongoing attempts to break through toward Malatokmachka. However, the Ukrainian forces have successfully repelled all attacks and the front line remains unchanged. In the Kherson direction, the situation is difficult, with increased shelling on the right bank of the Dnipro River. Strikes have intensified, though on the left bank, skirmishes continue near Kozachye Lageri. Still, there have been no changes to the front line. And that's all from me, so please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.